Buddy, how's it going? Week 4 online, here we go. All right, this video is for my Math 2 students. We're going to be looking at trigonometry a little bit further. This is the second week that we're doing trigonometry. Last week, we focused mostly on taking triangle sides and figuring out what the trig ratios were. And we looked at sine, cosine, and tangent, and how to figure out what the ratios are based on the side lengths. And now we're going to do it opposite. Now we're going to say, can we take the trig functions that we know, the trig values that we know, and can we find missing information about the sides? So instead of knowing the sides to find the trig functions, we're going to know the trig functions to find the side lengths. That's what we're going to be focusing on today. The Khan Academy assignment for this week is on what I'm going to talk about today. And we have a quiz this week that I'm going to have you all do by Friday. And you're going to have to turn in your written work on Google Classroom, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit about what both of those look like right now. So we're going to do that in just a second. The other thing we're going to do is look at 3 example problems that are going to be similar to what Khan Academy is going to be like and what you might see on the quiz. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in to the first thing, which is the assignments. So everybody should be able to log into Khan Academy by now. We're in week 4, so if any of you are still not able to get onto Khan Academy, please let me know as soon as possible. Everybody should be seeing the assignments page and seeing the active assignments. Now, you guys are going to have these 2 right here. Solving for side and right triangles. They both kind of say the same thing. Now, I want to focus your attention on the little symbols right here. You see how this is a little notepad and this is a little star? The notepad is the article, and I've noted in the Google Classroom assignment that this article is not graded. So what this looks like is some notes that Khan Academy has given you to help you go through the problems so that you can see how to do it. And I'm going to do that some of myself in my video, but you can go through this, take a look at the notes, see how they're doing it. You can get some help. You can watch some videos. And there's a couple of sample problems. I am not grading this. This is just for you to follow along with some written notes and get yourself familiar with what's going on. Okay, so I have viewed that. So you'll notice it says complete now. And the actual assignment, the one with the star, this is going to be actually graded. This one I'm going to grade. It's only 4 questions. It should not take you very long. It's not timed. You can take as long as you want. But it's 4 questions. And as with before, I'm going to have you guys try to get a high score as possible so you can retake this assignment as many times as possible. Once you finish it the first time, there's going to be a button here that says try again or retry or something like that. So you can click try again as many times as you want to redo the assignment as many times as possible. And you'll get full points as long as you get 75% or better. So try to get at least 75%, and if you are able to do that, you will get the full points. Okay, so that's the Khan Academy assignment this week. The quiz, of course, I can't show you what the quiz looks like, but I can show you some things that just to make sure you're on the right track. The quiz is going to be titled this, Integrated 2, Learning Target 7B.1 quiz, and it's 10 questions. And as it says in the Google Classroom assignment, you must upload a picture of your work with your name onto Google Classroom. So from the Google Classroom page, you're going to have the little add button or upload button, and you can upload your work so that I can see it, and that's going to go part of your grade. And make sure your name's on it. To get to that quiz, two options. You can either click on this link right here, which should take you directly to the quiz, or you can go to joinmyquiz.com and use this code. That code right there. So that's the code. Go to this website, or you should just be able to click that URL directly, and that'll work. And you'll notice that the quiz will be open until Friday at 11:30. So make sure you get in there. Don't wait till almost midnight, because it doesn't close at midnight. It actually closes at 11:30. So make sure that you're in there and getting all your work. Okay, so a look at the assignment and the quiz. We did that. Hopefully everybody's going to be able to access those assignments. If not, please let me know either in the comments here on Google Classroom, or you can talk to me on your mind. Okay, so now let's jump into those 3 example problems so that we can see how we're going to do the assignments. How are we going to do this? How are we going to find missing side lengths with our trig functions? Okay, so I've hand drawn some right triangles, and they don't look the greatest, but here's a right triangle. We can see our right angle is right here. 30 degrees, it says, and we have one side, 4. And here there's a question mark, so presumably this is what we're going to look for. We're going to try to figure out what this hypotenuse length is. So I'm going to use the vocab here. This is our hypotenuse, and we know one of the legs. In fact, which leg is it? Well, since it's on the opposite side of the angle, we know that that side length that they told us about is the opposite side. So I'm just going to note that right here. This is our opposite side. Okay, that does not look like an O. Let's try again. This is our opposite side. Okay. And then over here, this is our hypotenuse. And so the hypotenuse is what we're looking for. And we know an angle, the 30. Okay, so opposite, hypotenuse. Hopefully by now you've all memorized what sine, cosine, and tangent are. So if you're hearing opposite and hypotenuse, you should be thinking, which trig function is that? Well, that's sine. That's sine. Sine of an angle is opposite over hypotenuse. And I'm just going to write op over hyp, my shorthand. So sine of an angle is opposite over hypotenuse. What's our angle? Well, our angle is 30. Okay, so I'm going to just plug that in. So I know that sine of 30 equals opposite over hypotenuse. Now I know something. I actually know that the opposite side is 4. So instead of writing opposite again, I can put 4. And the hypotenuse, I don't know what the hypotenuse is. So you can, I wouldn't recommend putting a question mark there. Let's actually use a variable, so I'll use x. So now I know that sine 30, because 30 is our angle, is equal to 4, which is our opposite side, over the hypotenuse, which we don't know, so we're going to have a variable to stand in. Okay, so sine 30 is 4 over x. We're not finished. We have to figure out what x is, but at least we've set up the problem, and we're able to use our trig knowledge to set up the problem. And so now it's a matter of just working this out to figure out what x is. Okay, well, let's do that. First thing I'm going to do is multiply x to both sides. You can think of this as cross multiplying, like if you put a 1 over here and you're going to cross multiply. Or if you prefer, you can think of this as just multiplying x to both sides. Times x, times x. Okay, I guess not. Times x, times x. Either way, same thing, you're going to get the same result. It's just, you can think of it as cross multiplying, or you can think of it as multiplying x to both sides. But in any case, what we're going to get is x sine 30. Let me see here. As you can see, I still haven't gotten my stylus. Sine 30 equals 4. We're getting there. X is still not by itself, though. So x is equal to 4 over sine 30. How did I do that? Well, I just divided sine 30 on both sides. So x equals 4 divided by sine 30. Okay, are we done now? Kind of. We know what x is. We did get x by itself. We just don't have a number yet. This answer is not in simplified form. So we're going to try to figure out what that is. Well, what's sine 30? Some of you may be savvy enough to figure out what sine 30 is, but for the most part, let's just see if we can use our calculators to figure out what that is. Now, this calculator that's built into the computer, the way that I have to do this is I have to type in the angle first, and then I'm going to push the trig function that I want. And since we were using sine, I'm going to click on sine. And it tells me that sine of 30 is equal to 0.5. Awesome. Everybody's calculator is a little bit different. Hopefully you guys are using some sort of sophisticated calculator and not one that's just on your phone. But if you are using your phone calculator, it's probably like this, where you're going to type the angle first and then click whatever trig function you want. Okay, so 0.5. So we know that, and I'm going to actually continue this problem over here. I now know that x is equal to 4 over, and I'm not going to write sine 30 anymore because now I know that sine 30 is 0.5. And that 4 does not look very good, but hopefully we're good there, right? X equals 4 over 0.5. What is 4 over 0.5? Okay, well, we can do that too. I can do 4 divided by 0.5, and that's going to give me 8. Awesome. So now I know that x equals 8. Or in other words, our hypotenuse, the side length that was missing, is 8. So now I know that 8 is our missing value. Okay, that's it. Now we're done for real. We got our answer. It's 8. Okay, good. If you need to watch this portion again, go ahead. Feel free to watch this video as many times as you like. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next example problem. We've got another triangle, right triangle. There's our right angle right here. We have one angle marked, 70 degrees, and we know this length is 13, and it looks like this is the length that we're interested in. Okay, so just like the last one, I'm going to start off by just figuring out what am I looking at. Well, I can see that this is my hypotenuse, and I know it's my hypotenuse because it's on the other side of the right angle. Let me just get my handwriting better. See how it's on the other side of the right angle? That's the hypotenuse. Now this missing length here, it's right next to the 70, right next to the 70. So what do we call that? Well, that's our adjacent side. Dyslexia. Adjacent side. Perfect. And that's what we're looking for right here. We know the hypotenuse. We're looking for the adjacent side. Which trig function involves adjacent and hypotenuse? Well, if you said cosine, good. Cosine of an angle is equal to the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. All right, now we're looking just like the last example. We've got the trig function identified. Now we're going to fill in what we know. So we know that the angle is 70. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in. So this is now cosine 70 equals what? Adjacent over hypotenuse. Do I know the adjacent? No. So variable. Do I know the hypotenuse? Yes, it's 13. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and put 13. So now I've substituted my values for what I know and what I don't know. So now I've got an equation here where I can actually figure out what x is. Great. So just like the last example, I'm going to cross multiply, or you can think about it as multiplying 13 to the other side. Either way, same result. We're going to get 13 cosine 70 equals x. And let me see if I can clean this up a little bit. 13 cosine 70 equals x. Now, for those of you who want to be a little bit more careful, this is 70 degrees. There are different ways to measure angles, and we may or may not get to that this year because under the circumstances, we're not going to really be able to learn a lot of new stuff. But in the future, be aware that there are different ways to measure angles. So these are 70 degrees, so cosine 70 degrees. And I'm going to bring that up one more time in just a second. So I multiplied 13 to both sides, or you can think of it as cross multiplying. Either way is fine. And here's what I get. Now, unlike the last example, where x was still over here with the sign, and I had to divide sign on both sides to get x by itself, in this example, x is already by itself. So this is much easier. We don't actually have to do anything else after this as far as solving for x. X is already by itself. Now it's just a matter of figuring out what is 13 cosine 70. What is that? Okay, so I'm going to pull out my calculator, and I'm going to do 13 cosine 70. And as before, with my calculator, I have to type in 70, and then I have to type in cosine. And wow, okay, the last one was easy, 0.5. This is a monstrous number, 0.342, etc., etc. Okay, do I need to write all that? No, absolutely not. Just take the first three digits. Take the first three digits, that's usually perfect. So 0.342. So this is now 13.342. Okay, I did something on purpose because I've seen this before, so please don't do this. This is 13 times cosine, so make sure you do 13 times 0.342. Yeah, so we make sure 0.342, 13 times 0.342. That's what x is. Okay, well, what is 13 times 0.342? All right, now I'm going to do times 13 equals, bam, 4.446. Now, I happen to know that in the quiz, and I think in Khan Academy also, everything is asking you to round to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to round this answer to the nearest tenth. 4.446 rounded to the nearest tenth is 4.4. So that'll be our final answer, which I'll write over here. 4.4 equals x. Okay, there we go. There we got it. Now, just to kind of make sure this makes sense, because mistakes can happen, which one of these side lengths should be the longest? Well, the hypotenuse should be the longest. So 13 should be the biggest side. So So this should be smaller than 13. It is. Good. If you end up with a number bigger than the hypotenuse, or if you end up with a hypotenuse that's smaller than the other sides, you know something's wrong. Okay, and before I go to the next example, just a real quick note about the calculator. You see how I'm in degree mode? Make sure your calculator is in degree mode. There's also radians and there's also gradient. And these are the other ways to measure angles. So make sure your calculator is it's in degree mode for all these questions. Okay, that's example 2. Go ahead and rewatch if you need to. I'm going to move on to the last example here, and then I'll let you guys free to do the assignments for the week. Okay, right triangle. As before, we know an angle, 25 degrees. We know one side length, 9. We're looking for this side length. And just like the other ones, we're going to identify what sides are we looking at. Well, it looks like the 9 is opposite to the 25. So this is our opposite side. And it looks like our question mark, the side we're missing, is the side that's next to. It's adjacent to the angle. So this is our adjacent side. The hypotenuse is here. Do we need to know the hypotenuse? No, we don't have information about it. We don't have a question mark for it. So the hypotenuse is not going to be part of this question. So we're just going to focus on these two, opposite, adjacent. Okay, opposite, adjacent. Which trig function has opposite, adjacent? Hopefully everybody is saying to their computer screen, tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to run through this one more time. It's going to be very similar to the last 2 questions. So by now, hopefully you get the hang of it. Tangent of A, our angle is 25. So I'm going to substitute 25 degrees in here. Opposite. What's opposite? Opposite is 9. And adjacent, what's adjacent? Adjacent is, well, we don't know. So that's x. So tangent 25 equals 9 over x. And we solve. I'm going to cross multiply or multiply x to both sides, and that's going to give me x. Tangent 25 equals 9. To get x by itself, I'm going to divide tangent on both sides. I'm skipping the middle steps for the sake of the length of the video. If you do have questions about the middle steps, feel free to let me know. I will work through more problems if you need me to. Okay, so here's x. It's 9 over tangent 25. Time to bust out the calculator. What is tangent 25? Okay, well, let's go ahead. 25 and tangent. Tangent 25 is 0.466. Okay, so over here, we know x is 9 over 0.466. And let me make that decimal very clear. Okay. And what's 9 divided by 466? Okay, let's see. 9 divided by 0.466 is 19.313. And again, we're going to round everything to 1/10 for our final answer. So this is going to be 19.3. So this is x equals 19.3. All right, there it is. X is 19.3. So that's this right here. I'll go ahead and write it in. 19.3. And that's that. We did it. Does anybody have any questions?